Just let me tell you that quilling leaves can be a lifesaver. I made this quilling artwork for a friend of mine, and as you can see, there are a lot of empty spaces. So I decided to add some quilling leaves to the design. And in this video I want to show you how to make them. Let's start with the first leaf. I'm starting off by rolling a tight coil with my slotted quilling tool. And then I let the coil open up to a specific size on my template board, so I can be sure that all leaves will have the same size. Tweezers can be very handy when you work with the template board. Now I add some glue to the end of the coil to seal it and pinch both sides to form a diamond shape. Make sure that the beginning of the paper strip stays in the center of the coil. That's important if you want to have perfect diamond shapes. After I got the leaves, I'm going to make the stem with a thick paper strip. To make the stem sturdy enough, I use 300 GSM paper strips. Before attaching the leaves to the stem, locate the end of the paper strip on the diamond shape and apply some glue to this area. This way, you can hide the end of the paper strip within the diamond shape, ensuring a clean appearance for your quilling leaves. For this quilling design, I'm going to add 3 leaves on one stem. I'm going to attach them on the top of the stem. And I'm going to repeat this process 2 times more and add all pieces together. Ensure that the central stem is slightly longer than the other stems, as this will add more dimension to the quilling design. And at the end, you can trim the excess when the stems are too long. That was quite simple, and here's the first completed quilling leaf. Let's proceed with the next one. This one is crafted using the same diamond shapes as the previous quilling leaf, but with a notable difference. Instead of using 3 separate stems, I will attach all the diamond shapes to a single stem. This allows you to adjust the stem's length based on the numbers of added leaves. Ensure that you maintain an equal number of leaves on each side of the stem and position the leaves on the same point. This will create symmetry in the leaf and it will look naturally. The upcoming leaves are based on these 2 quilling techniques, but they are made using different quilling shapes. Even though the techniques are the same, the final outcome remains unique in the end. So let's jump right into the next one. This quilling leaf is very easy to make, yet still beautiful. I'm going to create teardrop shapes using the slotted quilling tool and the template board. I always use thin paper strips like 80 to 130 GSM when crafting with tight and loose coils, as this weight is perfect for quilling with these shapes. Locate the end of the paper strip on the coil. Pull the center of the coil in the opposite direction of the located spot, and then pinch the coil to form a teardrop shape. This way you can hide the end of the paper strip by attaching the teardrop shapes to the stem. And here's the quilling leaf with teardrop shapes. And this is how it looks like with a single stem. The quilling process of this leaf is the same, so I will skip right to the next quilling leaf. But before I do, just let me give you another useful tip. I want to mention that you can also add different sizes of teardrop shapes to the stem to create a totally different quilling leaf. Let's move on to the next quilling leaf. I made this one with heart shapes. To achieve this, I start by rolling a tight coil with my slotted quilling tool and let the coil open up on my template board. Once I locate the end of the paper strip on the coil, I give it a slight pinch at that point and hold it between my fingers. Then, using my other hand, I gently push the coil into a triangle shape. To transform it into a heart shape, I use a quilling needle now. I press the needle onto the coil and shape it into a heart. This might be a bit challenging at first, especially to achieve a symmetrical heart shape. But with a little practice, it will become much easier. I remember my first heart shape and it wasn't symmetrical at all. So don't give up if your first heart shapes aren't perfect. This is how the heart-shaped leaves appear on a single strip. Both styles are incredibly beautiful. What's your opinion on them? By the way, you can also add a second color to the leaves to create a contrasting effect. I'm pretty sure that this would turn out amazing. Now, let's skip right to the next leaf design. This one is the easiest quilling leaf in this tutorial video. I'm just rolling some tight coils with my slotted quilling tool and adding them to the stems. The size of the tight coils depends on the length of the paper strips. Longer paper strips create bigger coils. I'm using 30 cm 12 inches long paper strips for my tight coils. And here's the leaf with tight coils on a single stem. I want to share another useful tip. Try to make tight coils without center holes for these quilling leaves. The results will be much better. By the way, I used these leaves on my quilling wreath that I made last year. You can check out my channel if you want to watch that video. Next up, we have another leaf to explore. I made this one with ring coils. To create the leaves, I'm going to use a tight coil that I prepared earlier. Before I can wrap my paper strip around the tight coil, I have to curl it with a needle tool. This way, it will be much easier to wrap it around the tight coil. I'm applying a tiny bit of glue to the beginning of the paper strip so the ring coil can't open up later. Then, I'm wrapping the paper strip around the tight coil and sealing the end. And finally, I push the tight coil out of the ring coil and the ring shape is completed. From now on, the quilling process is the same. Just add 3 tight coils on each paper strip and attach them together. And this is how the ring coils look on a single paper strip. As you may have noticed, I'm quilling with white paper strips. I usually recommend quilling these leaves with 3mm paper strips. They will look much finer and more elegant. However, in my case I have to work with 10mm paper strips due to the quilling artwork that I have showcased at the beginning of the video. These leaves will serve as fillers for that quilling artwork. Let's move on to our next quilling leaf. This one requires a shorter paper strip, which is around 2 cm 1 inch long. Begin by folding the strip in half, ensuring both ends have straight edges. If they are not straight, feel free to trim them. This will make it much easier to bring them into the right shape. Gently squeeze the paper strip to open it up and form a diamond shape. Carefully unfold the strips, apply some glue and fold them together. And the hollow diamond shape is complete. The version of this leaf on a single paper strip looks like a pine leaf. It could be very useful for the upcoming winter season. Additionally, there is an important tip I'd like to share with you. When quilling this leaf, use thicker paper strips. Since it's a hollow shape, thicker paper will make the quilling sturdier. I'm using 300 GSM paper strips for all of my hollow shapes. Here is another leaf with hollow shapes. You'll need a short paper strip for this one. I begin by curling the center of the strip with my needle tool, gently pressing the tool against the strip on my fingertip. I move the paper around the needle tool, focusing the center part, leaving the ends of the paper strip straight. That's it. Open up the paper strip, apply some glue, and join both ends together to form the hollow teardrop shape. I think this one was pretty easy. You should also give it a try. And here you can see the hollow teardrop shapes on a single paper strip. I have another creative idea for you. Just craft 3 different sizes of the hollow teardrop shapes and put them inside each other. I actually used this leaf design for the quilling wreath I mentioned earlier. Now let me show you the final quilling leaf design in this tutorial. Start by taking a short paper strip and fold it in half. Then fold the paper strip back, but not all the way, so it can take the shape of the letter Z. Turn it around and fold back the other end to create the hollow heart shape. Be sure to apply glue to secure the ends of the paper strip, and the hollow heart shape is complete. Here you can see the hollow heart shapes on a single paper strip. This leaf design with hollow heart shapes is my favorite. Just imagine creating a tree using only these hollow heart shapes. I'm sure it will turn out stunning. Now let's talk about the quilling artwork that I showcased at the start of the video. I created that quilling artwork for a friend and my goal was to fill the empty spaces. I knew that quilling leaves would be the perfect addition. So I began crafting the sleeves in various sizes and experimented with their placement on the cardboard. The great thing about these leaves is that they weren't on edge quillings, so I could move them around and replace each one as needed. I continued experimenting until I was satisfied with their overall design. As you may have noticed, I flipped the cardboard over and started anew. When I have leftovers from other projects, I never throw them away. I always keep them for future projects and experimentation. I highly recommend preserving your quilling leftovers as well. They can be a lifesaver, just like my quilling leaves were in this case. I hope this tutorial has provided you with some valuable insights. If you found it helpful, please show your support by hitting the like button. Your support motivates me to create more video content for you. And for now, if you're interested in a tutorial video on crafting 20 different basic quilling flowers, you can watch it right here. Thank you all for watching and happy quilling!